Well, hello and good day to all of you wonderful viewers out there. Hi, I'm Awesome Joe, and thank you guys so much for taking the time of your day to watching another episode of Awesome Joe's Movie Reviews. And yes, it's been a while since I've done a video. There's a movie review in particular that I love to do on, but unfortunately, life always comes first and always constantly busy. So hopefully, whenever I do get the chance to, I get to finally go ahead and make my movie review. You know, there's still Elvis, Minions: The Rise of Gru, Black Phone, Thor: Love and Thunder. I mean, there's just so many good movies out there that I would love to talk about with you, all of you wonderful viewers. But for right now, we only have time to talk about one in particular movie that just released out into theaters, and that is Jordan Peele's new third movie, Nope. And he's written, produced, and directed this. He did also his recent two films, Get Out and Us. My personal favorite is Us. I liked Get Out, but Us is actually my personal favorite. I loved Us. And the reason why I went to go watch this movie, because I just so much loved the original material that Jordan Peele had developed within his other two films, and knowing that he's bringing it back to the table here with this new movie. So I'd have to give huge credits to Jordan Peele and the rest of his film crew, and for the film itself being original material, because nowadays, obviously, you don't really get that anymore. Nowadays, movies are either comic book superheroes or comic books all in general, based off of a book, sequels, reboots. You know, you never really get good original material, and I really give Jordan Peele huge credits for it. So this movie is at a positive level for me, because I do respect original material, and now that we're getting it, it's really going to change the aspect of the way of what Hollywood is trying to develop with their films, and giving us something that's really off of the brain here. So we start off with this character called O.J. Haywood, which is played by Daniel Kaluuya. And excuse my pronunciation; I'm always terrible at having to pronouncing these names. And I really did like his character, but something about the way that he behaves throughout the entire movie is so calm. Doesn't really show any attitude. Doesn't really show any reaction. You know, there are several I would say jump scares in the movie to where he just really doesn't show any reaction. He's just like, nope. And I'm like, okay. You know, most other kind of actors who would perform that sort of reaction would be like, oh, hell no, no way. But this thing is like, nope. Okay. All right. Obviously, I must be missing something here, because I hear that the way that he performs himself in this movie is beyond brilliant. And for me, I wasn't really fond of the way that he performed the character. That kind of behavior, because I do run into several people who do behave like this, and to be honest with you, I'm not very fond of it. I really do love open people who really socialize and, you know, throw themselves out on the table. And that's where it brings us to this next character, Keke Palmer, who plays the character Emerald Haywood, who is the sister of OJ. And I love the way that she's just an open-minded character who doesn't really, who's completely different from the way that her brother behaves. And I think that she just steals the spotlight in this entire movie. She looked like somebody that could have been a little irritating on my part, but I find her to be a huge positive to the film. Another known name that is one of the main characters of this film is the character Ricky, played by Stephen Young. We all know who this guy is. You know, he has done several other projects, but he's very familiarized by the Walking Dead TV show and how the way that he died in that show. So every time when I see him, all I can think about is how the way he died, and it was just so nerve-wracking. So, but him having to be in this movie, the entire time I was asking myself, why? You know, it's great getting to see him. I love the way that he acts, but the entire time I kept on seeing him, I always asked myself the reason why. So it really put me in a very difficult spot, and I wanted to accepting his character, but on the long run, I wasn't really satisfied with. You know, it just felt like a lot of lost screen time. You know, staying intact with what the story was trying to develop itself with. Then we get another character who's the brother and the sister's father, Otis Haywood, played by Keith David. And he's only in the movie very minimally at the beginning because he does get killed off, and plus the fact having to mention that this review does contain spoilers, so if you haven't watched this movie just yet in theaters, go ahead and watch it and then come back and become a part of the awesome conversation that we have here today. But yes, he dies early on in the movie, and because of significant reasons that is highly explained throughout the long run of the film. And another character who is actually a part of the main group is Angel Torres, played by Brendan Perea. And to be honest with you, as many times as I see him, he kind of reminds me of a David Franco. If anything, I think that David Franco would have been great having to be casted for this role, because it's just very much like him. And then another character named Antlers Holst, played by Michael Winscott. This guy was very familiar to me, and the way that his gargling voice is during, you know, when every time he's on screen, or whenever you just hear his voice all in general over the phone, I kept wondering who this guy was. I know I've seen him somewhere before, and the reason why I didn't recognize him, because yes, he's gotten older and I haven't seen him in the last 2 decades. So yes, this guy, he plays in other movies that I'm very familiar with, which is Alien Resurrection, and I know a lot of people are not very fond of that movie, but yeah, Alien Resurrection, and The Three Musketeers with Kiefer Sutherland and Oliver Platt, Charlie Sheen, Chris O'Donnell. So, and I'm like, oh, I like that guy. That guy's pretty cool. But man, did he get old? Or is it just hair and makeup? I'm not really sure. But it was great getting to see him again. He was a great addition to the cast. And the way that he dies, I love the very reasoning why he dies. And I'll get more to it into that later. But as of now, everybody, what I wanted to really talk about is, like how I mentioned before, the original material. And of course, there's always some hidden roots that it's based off of to adapting itself as its own personal thing. And you can tell that Jordan Peele is a huge Spielberg and Shyamalan fan, if I were to say, because when I was watching the entire movie, it felt like it was a mixture of Jaws and Shyamalan's Signs put together, and I liked that. It was actually very, very good. It is like Jaws, but instead of it being in the water itself, which, by the way, I wasn't born then, but having to hear when that movie was first released, it just got a lot of audiences terrified of going back into the water. And now having to see this, it does give me some fear, some sudden fear, like how I did with Signs, as to what is actually lurking in the sky, what is actually hiding behind those clouds. And so that's what this movie is all about. When they did the marketing of this, which I believe it was a year ago, when they gave us the first picture, when they released the first poster of this movie, all you see is just this cloud hovering over a small town in the middle of nowhere with that dangling string from it. And everyone was thinking, okay, what is Jordan Peele up to now? And just having to looking at that string of the flags on it, it reminded you of Back to the Future Part 2. So yeah, you were thinking, okay, it has to do something with time travel, or it has something to do with aliens, and, and oh boy, were we wrong. Like I said, spoiler alert here, everybody. The more it kept on giving us, when we got the teaser, it was just very, it got me shivering. Like I was like terrified of the way that they did these trailers and the marketing. It was very much teasing it, leaning it towards that this movie had to deal with aliens. And I was expecting that, because there's this little part where you see like this alien just walking about alongside the wall there, and you're just like, oh my god, I can't wait to see what is it that happens next. And I do see that scene, and I'm like, yeah, that was actually the best part of this entire movie, was seeing that. And it was just, oh my gosh, I was like so disappointed what the reveal was, and I'm like, no, it was just a bunch of kids in costumes. I'm like, really, you had to go that route, really? No, I just, it was the best part of the movie, and not in a bad way. It was actually in a good way, that it was revealed to being just a bunch of kids in costumes. So I just, yeah, and yeah, you would think also, because in the trailer itself that it teases aliens, because at the ending of the trailer, you see this flying saucer, flying about right behind the main character, running away on horseback. So yeah, you would think that this has to do with aliens, but unfortunately, it doesn't. Now, throughout the entire movie, yes, they do discuss and have these discussions about UFOs, and how footages from other sightings, from other video capturings, pictures, that all you ever do see is saucers flying in the sky, but then all of a sudden disappear behind the clouds. So now I'm asking myself that question, it's like, and that's where this comes in. It's like, people are always under the speculation to assume that these are flying saucers, that these are aliens flying these spaceships and hiding behind the clouds, or hiding up in the mountains and such. Maybe that, according to the original materials of the very minds of Jordan Peele, this is his explanation for all of that, that people were to believe that it's aliens in flying saucers up in the sky, and that there is such thing as aliens. Well, unfortunately, like I said, it's really not. Instead of it being what people would have assumed it to be, because yeah, it was a huge twist to find out that it's definitely something, but it's not what we expected. It's a creature. It's a creature. I didn't like that, but I still stuck with it. I still stuck with it. But yes, it was none other than a creature. I was like I said, I was disappointed, because I was really expecting it to lean itself towards aliens, because it really captured me. And besides his recent movie Us, drawing me into wanting to watching this movie, Aliens really got my attention, and wanting to see what this movie had in store, and having to have that spin revealed off to me. Yes. Like I said, I really wanted to love this movie, and it's not bad. It's not bad at all. There's this in particular part of the film that I think really has no meaning to the story. Of course, I had to take some second thoughts into trying to figure out what it meant. What was the very meaning of putting this into the film. Because the first thing that we see when this movie begins is this in particular part of the film. And this has something to do with which is Stephen Young's character, Ricky, who was a child. He was a child star on a TV show, alongside co-star of a chimp named Gordy. And this chimp all of a sudden just goes bazonkers. You know, it just goes crazy and starts killing everybody. And you know, in the way I thought of it is, okay, when you see something that is just huge, something that is out of the ordinary, to get those views on like YouTube or you know, anything that's on the news broadcasts, anything that's out of the ordinary. That's why you see a lot of bad things that go on around the world. That's why I don't watch the news, because there's always a lot of bad things that go on in the world that I don't really want to acknowledge. I really don't. It's not that I don't care. It's just that I would rather live as a positive person and not really put more of my focus on the negativities of the things that go on in this world. I do care, and I really wish I could do something about it. But unfortunately, I'm only one man, and I can only do so much. But coming back to the point here, you know, it's you know, this in particular situation that had occurred in the late 1990s, when the Ricky character was a child and having to experience to be a part of this this massacre that was going on. And by the way, yeah, I remember in the teaser trailer, you see this alien hand coming in like E.T., trying to, like, I don't know, touch, you know, another little kid's hand underneath the table, and you're like thinking, oh wow, this is the alien's hand, you know, if we're really dealing with aliens. But no, unfortunately, that hand that hand that came in that looked like an alien hand was unfortunately the chimp's hand. So when I saw it, I was like, no, you're like, I hated it, but I loved it at the same time. It's like, oh, I hate that when you tease me. I was entertained throughout the entire movie. I was very, very entertained. Completely disappointed, yes, but entertained at all at the same time. But yes, because during this movie, when it comes to our main characters, they start visually seeing that there is a UFO floating up over them, hiding in the clouds. Because, you know, then they catch you know, a glimpse of a non-moving cloud that's been there for the last several months. And I mean, by the way, this movie kind of does remind me as well, having it being out in the middle of nowhere, kind of like Tremors with Kevin Bacon. It reminded me a little of Tremors. And like I said, it's not on the ground, it's not in the ocean, but it's up in the sky, which really brings... It is actually a whole other world, a world in between Earth and space that brings a lot of question marks, that really has a head scratcher to the whole aspect of the thing. But yes, you know, this movie, it does have a huge runtime, 2 hours and 15 minutes. I think that it could have been shortened down to a good hour and 30 minutes. You know, if you were to exclude the whole Chimp Gordy situation, I think that the movie wouldn't have any huge changes of making it any worse or any better, but still being the same movie altogether. And yeah, the way that this movie was developed, if I would have watched this and not know that it was made by Jordan Peele, I would have assumed that the entire time that this movie was a Shyamalan film. It felt very Shyamalan. And you know, and I wouldn't have been surprised if I saw it, because usually, you know how Shyamalan always does cameos in his movies. If I would have seen them, I'm like, yep, this is a Shyamalan film. But if I would have seen it, I'm like, okay, it's not Shyamalan, so whose movie is this? But yeah, you know, and it does give a good Jordan Peele vibe as well too. But like I said, it felt very Shyamalan. But yeah, this movie, it really had its ups and downs. You know, I was really at the edge of my seat the majority of the time. I really didn't like on how the way that it was all revealed and enclosed towards the ending of the movie. You know, and there are some certain deaths that take place that I really felt that should not have been changed out, because they, you know, I'm getting really tired of seeing this in movies. When a character dies, let them die already, okay? You know, quit bringing them back, because now it doesn't really feel real to me. It feels too much like a movie. It feels too much like Hollywood fan fiction. So please, if you kill off a character, as much as the character is loved by audiences, kill him off, please, and don't bring him back, and don't give us any ideas of how they survived this attack, unless if you actually had a purpose, if you written it in there long before you killed off the character. but don't do it just because audiences just love it and want to see more screen time of that character. So yeah, that's, if I ever see anything like that, like in Stranger Things, they kill off a character but keep bringing them back, or even Marvel itself, you kill off a character and you bring them back for some stupid obvious reason. So I don't know, I just wasn't really fond of that. But yeah, the way that this thing is revealed, it doesn't really give you any explanation at all whatsoever as to what it is, where it came from, and they come up with how, like what its capabilities are, why it does this, why, like there's this in particular part where if you look straight into it, if you look straight at it, it comes after you, and I don't really understand as to why it absorbs all of the electricity around when it's around you, or the horses. It always teased a little bit about the horses. That really didn't. For me, I never really found it as any in particular. I thought it had something to do with the aliens, but unfortunately not. I never really got that acceptance of what they were trying to develop there. I know also in the trailers they had marketed this the survivor who was attacked in that 90s TV show by the chimp, who was very disfigured and hiding underneath her hat and veil. And when you see the wind blow the veil, you can see that she looks like she's got disfigured skin, and her teeth are very bucked out like a horse. So I'm like thinking, it's got to do something with horses and aliens. But even with that character having a being in it, there was never really any reason for this character to be in the movie. It really got me going to thinking, oh man, this is deep. This is really something that I can't wait to find out what they're trying to accomplish here. But there was really nothing at all. Instead of the entire group of people that were visualizing this alien coming about were nothing more than a bunch of characters getting killed off, eaten by this gigantic flying saucer creature looking thing, which by the way they call Jean Jacket, which is a name that they named a horse years ago when they were kids, and off of a Scorpion King filming. They sold a horse for the film development of the Scorpion King, which is also Universal by the same company. But pretty much, I mean, dude, like the big question here is, did I like the movie? As an ordinary audience member, I would have to say I very much dislike the movie, because it would take me a massive amount of time to figure out what was this movie really about. But as a movie fanatic, as a movie critic, having a little bit more of an understanding and putting in some time to put the pieces together and figuring out what was it that Jordan Peele was trying to accomplish here, what type of story he was trying to tell, I liked it to a certain percentage. Rotten Tomatoes went ahead and gave this movie an 80%, which I am astonished by. I'm very astonished to hear on how Rotten Tomatoes gave it an 80%. Because unfortunately for me, I'm going to be very honest here. The way that I feel about the movie, I disliked it more than I liked it. Okay? Is it because of my misunderstandings about the movie? Unfortunately, yes. But I'd have to give huge credits for the original material, like I said. Huge credits. That's why I won't give it a very low rating. But having it being an original material, I'd have to give it a 42%. 42% I give the movie. Original material, that's a plus. Keke Palmer's Emerald Haywood, huge plus. Antlers Holst, Michael Winscott's character, huge plus. There's just a lot of negative things about this movie that I really wasn't very fond of, and I hear that Jordan Peele has 2 other movies that he's actually working on right now that is off of the basis of his mind, and this movie is not going to discourage me of wanting to go out and seeing them. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan Peele puts out. I will see any movie that Jordan that is by Jordan Peele, the same as I would feel about Shyamalan. As much as he has a lot of terrible films that he had made, there are also some good ones, and I have huge, complete faith in him, as much as I do as Jordan Peele, that whatever new project that he is working on, I'd have to entrust in them that they will do the right thing and bring their vision up back into the big screen. But yeah, anyways, you guys, that's my review for Nope. What did you guys think? Have you guys checked it out just yet? If not, go to your local theaters. It's out right now. Check it out and come back and become a part of the awesome conversation that we have here today. If you have any other further questions, comments, complaints, or concerns, please feel free to leave it down in the comment section at the bottom. Let's have an awesome time talking about this movie or any movies that you'd like to talk about in general, because I love to talk about movies, but most importantly, I love to talk about them with you. And don't forget that you can check out some more of my videos on Facebook and on YouTube. Just look me up at Awesome Joe Movie Reviews. Don't forget to click on that like and subscribe button there, everybody. I really do appreciate everybody's support on my videos. So anyways, you guys, I'm Awesome Joe. Keep on living the dream, and as always, stay awesome. Thanks you guys once more again, and I'll see everybody in the next video. Bye.